Tons of PC hardware news to talk about, so let's go ahead and get started. So we're seeing headlines that some Intel CPUs lost 9% of their performance overnight. What could that be about? Well, this looks like a consequence of the whole instability issues that we've been seeing widely reported. I've talked about in my last couple of news videos, on especially on i9 14900K and 13900K CPUs. Now, it's looking like, as people have been digging into this, that one of the potential issues could be motherboard manufacturers setting very aggressive settings out of the box. And so it's looking like ASUS motherboards have now enabled a baseline profile, an Intel baseline profile option, which would turn off all of their auto settings and go back to those more conservative baseline settings, which apparently looks like it could lose you 8 to 9% of performance when you go to those settings. But if that does help stability, might be worth doing for people who are impacted. And in general, I'm just still interested in how all of this plays out. If we get any kind of official statement from Intel about the issues and things like that. And speaking of official statements from companies that are in the news for not positive reasons, if you guys follow Gamers Nexus, you probably saw his video talking about EK water blocks and all sorts of issues the company has been having recently, including delaying payments to not only business partners, but employees, all sorts of things. Watch the video. There's a lot going on there, and my intention here is not to recap all of them. I'm just going to add to that by saying that EK water blocks, and I will have a link to everything I talk about today in my video description, including this video, has posted a YouTube video from EK's founder and CEO responding to this whole controversy, and basically acknowledging issues and saying that they have implemented some key actions, including wanting to communicate more openly about issues, about timeframes for payments and things like that. And in general, he does mention that he took over as CEO in February. Now, he is the founder of the company, but had not been, to my understanding, operating as the actual CEO. He wasn't overseeing all of the business administration. So to me, what this sounds like is that the founder became aware of issues with the company and let go the CEO that had been running things back in February to try to right ship. But now a lot of this is coming to light in these videos and things like that. So I'm hopeful that this is a sign that the founder really was in good faith trying to come out and solve these issues as of a couple of months ago, and maybe that just hadn't been fully taken care of by the time this came to light in news outlets and things like that. So anyway, I have absolutely no inside knowledge on this whole situation. Just wanted to point out that it is now being acknowledged by the EK Waterblocks founder and current CEO. And again, I will link all of this in my video description. Let's turn to stuff that's more in my wheelhouse that I like to report on, which is just like prices of things and deals and stuff for PC hardware. I did post on my community page a day ago that it's looking like Newegg was running some good sales deals on, especially on a variety of hardware, but on graphics cards. I saw the 7900 XTX dropped to $850 if you used a $100 discount code. Now, this one did say it required Newegg Plus membership, so at first I was going to be kind of dismissive, like, oh, you have to sign up for and pay some kind of membership. But it actually looks like it's not a paid membership. It does look like a free membership. So that actually makes it a bit less annoying. Still would be nice to just get this price right out of the box. But I also did see that the 7800 XT also was able to get $50 off using the Newegg Plus membership, and that brought it down to $480. These are both Power Color Hellhound models for the 7800 XT and 7900 XTX respectively. So that seemed like some deals worth reporting. Nothing absolutely mind-blowing, but certainly better than we typically see on those products. Now, in other AMD news, we are seeing that AMD motherboard manufacturers, most recently ASRock and BioStar, but other manufacturers had done this even earlier, so this, I think, is all of them now, have confirmed AMD Ryzen 9000, that's the Zen 5 CPUs, support with BIOS updates. So that indicates that we should be seeing the Ryzen 9000 desktop CPUs coming very soon. Now, another reason we might be seeing those coming soon is, this might not be actual like a 9,000 desktop CPUs. These are actually talking APUs, but we see a massive leak. Now, I do want to stress this is now leaked information, not official information. But digging into the leaks that we're seeing, this does look like a document was posted, I think it's a 144-page document or something like that. The kind of thing that doesn't sound like a random nonsense made-up post. Seems like it could be could be legit. It was originally, looks like it was discovered by HKEPC. The original tweet was taken down, but then other news outlets like the videocards.com article I'm linking here have posted screenshots from this information. So this does look like legit information. It's being reported at a variety of places. The WCCF Tech article here, I think, does a pretty good summary of kind of the stats that we're seeing on this overall. So basically, you would see a monolithic design and then a chiplet design that would be higher end. The monolithic design looks like the CPU cores will go up to 12 cores, but it's a hybrid of some Zen 5 and some Zen 5C cores. But that would be 12 cores total. And that would go up to 24 megabytes of L3 cache, 12 megabytes of L2 cache, and 16 RDNA 3 Plus compute units for the GPU. Now that's pretty interesting, just because that is a lot of compute units for an APU. And then when we look at the higher end spec version, we're gonna see that they even go beyond this. So that's pretty interesting. Now, one thing about integrated GPUs is that they can be very reliant on memory bandwidth, and because they don't have their dedicated VRAM, right? And so it looks like these will support up to LPDDR5 7500 or DDR5 5600 support. So going up to speeds of 7500 could help with some of that APU performance. And they also will, looks like, have some AI acceleration going up to 50 TOPS for AI compute, AI acceleration. And expected launch in the second half of 2024. And these would go up to from 28 watts to 65 watts. And then it's looking like the higher end spec version of this, the Strix Halo, is interesting that it goes up to 16 cores and then, more threads. And 64 megabytes of shared L3 cache. And then check this out on the GPU for this thing. 40 RDNA 3 Plus compute units. That's pretty interesting. That is quite a bit of compute units for an APU, for integrated graphics. Now, again, they can be limited by their memory bandwidth on an APU, right, when you don't have dedicated VRAM. But this is interesting. It looks like reports of 32 megabytes of MALL cache for the iGPU. So I guess the idea there is that would function sort of like infinity cache, as I understand it. In other words, this could help boost performance beyond what you would usually see in an APU, I think, if that functions the way I imagine it would. And then looks like this could go up to a 256-bit LPDDR5 X8000 memory controller, which is interesting. 60 AI TOPS, and again, second half of 2024 launch expected. And these ones would range from 55 watts up to 130 watts. So these look like they could be pretty powerful. Now, we would expect to probably get announcements for these at Computex, would be the most likely thing, with AMD giving a keynote. I believe Lisa Su's giving the keynote for Computex, which would be, did they mention it here? I think they probably would. Yeah, 2024 doing the AMD keynote. I think it's the beginning of June. Yeah, and it's also looking like Nvidia's CEO Jensen Huang, while not delivering the Computex keynote, will be delivering his own keynote address right before Computex begins on June 2nd. Now, I was hoping this would be about, maybe GPU news or something, but it's looking like it's very AI-focused, which is not shocking from NVIDIA right now. So it's looking like a live keynote on June 2nd at 7 p.m. Taiwan time at the NTU Sports Center about how the era of AI is driving a new industrial revolution across the globe. So interesting. So here's the list of the Computex keynotes. So we have the NVIDIA one coming in before Computex, AMD giving the actual, I think, Computex opening keynote, and then looks like Qualcomm, Intel, MediaTek, and others will have some other keynote addresses as well. It'll be interesting to see what we get. But like I said, the AMD keynote is probably where we'll be seeing announcements of those new APUs coming out, and maybe we'll hear something about the 9000 series desktop CPUs as well. In more of the leak and rumor side of things, we are seeing some information that AMD's next generation of GPUs, which would be RDNA 4 or the RX 8000 series, might only be utilizing 18 gigabit per second GDDR6 memory across the entire lineup. Now, again, this is not official information. You always want to dig into where are the sources. It looks like the source for this one is a tweet from Kepler. Now, Kepler has leaked information correctly for AMD parts in the past, but I believe has also missed the mark before, so I would not just double down on saying this is 100% happening. Now, when that was taken maybe out of context, or to clarify the context, somebody did ask all of RDNA 4, and the reply was yep. So if you trust Kepler on this, again, leaks, rumors, all of that, then that would imply that we would be getting only 18 gigabit per second memory across the whole RDNA 4 lineup. Now, if you look at the 7000 series RDNA 3 lineup, you can see that some models actually are 20 gigabit per second, 19.5 gigabit per second, but much of the lineup is 18 gigabit per second. So this would mean that it wouldn't be any faster really than the memory that we're seeing on the 7000 series, and for some models could be a downgrade. However, this could fit into the rumors, and again, stressing rumors, this is none of it's official, that RDNA 4 will kind of be maybe like not a full generation, meaning like they might not try to have a high end. They might just be shooting more for the low and mid range, and then follow up with a more advanced high end, maybe not having to wait a full 2 years for that next follow up. Again, those are rumors as I understand them at this point and not official information, but maybe the slower memory speeds would line up with trying to go for value in the low end rather than having RDNA 4 compete at the higher end. We'll just have to see how it all plays out, and all of that's leaks and rumors anyway. But what about Intel with their next GPU lineup? Well, the latest Battlemage information I can track down for you is about its DisplayPort 2.0 support, apparently probably topping out at UHBR 13.5, which is not the full spec. But honestly, I don't think this is a huge deal anyway. This seems to be, again, just coming from some patch notes where it says removed UHBR 20 support, and then it says set maximum DP rate to UHBR 13.5. Now, really all of this just has to do with what resolution and frame rate of monitor can you drive before having to use display stream compression. DSC doesn't usually tend to be that big of an issue, so I don't see this as a massive problem or anything like that, but I just thought I'd share the latest Intel GPU leaks. Now getting into something that's not a leak, but actually news, is Intel Arc drivers are again claiming some big performance uplifts in specific games, and specifically this is saying for integrated GPUs, which is kind of a big deal for handhelds like, most handhelds are running AMD, but specifically the MSI Claw handheld. And it's claiming a big boost in gaming performance with these new GPU drivers, up to 44% gains in certain games. Also a new BIOS, so it's unclear in this claim how much of that is the BIOS update and how much of it is the GPU drivers, but it sounds like the GPU drivers are claiming some pretty significant gains. So anyway, it sounds like at least certain titles might be seeing some big performance boosts, so that's interesting. Here's some of the specific claims in F123, Hogwarts Legacy, Diablo 4, Forza Horizon 5, Dead Space, Helldivers 2, and Hogwarts Legacy, with some pretty noticeable gains. However, again, this is not something that I have tested myself. This is just reporting on news claims. So be that as it may, I'm still not sure this would make me want to buy the Intel handheld as opposed to something like maybe ASUS ROG Ally, which is also apparently now getting an update to include Fluid Motion Frame support. That's the driver level frame generation, as opposed to FSR 3, which is the in-game integrated frame generation, which requires specific game support. ASUS has just announced that the ROG Ally is being updated to have Fluid Motion Frame support. So that is nice to see for those of you who want to use that. Again, my uses with it, have been pretty hit or miss. I'm curious how it would play out in a handheld situation. But anyway, just letting you know that that is available. Now, in other big news, Unreal Engine 5.4 has been released, and this makes some big claims, including improved TSR. Now, TSR is kind of like FSR or DLSS or XeSS in the sense that it's an advanced temporal upscaling technique. It's more like FSR and XeSS in that it can run on a variety of hardware rather than DLSS being more locked down in a proprietary manner. However, TSR is unique to Unreal Engine. This is not an option that's available across different game engines, so it would only be Unreal Engine games that can use this. However, TSR has delivered some very good upscaling. Oftentimes better than FSR and in a lot of games when you can test them head-to-head. So if it's being improved even more, that's only good news in my opinion, especially with how reliant a lot of Unreal Engine 5 games are on upscaling for performance. Additionally, they are just saying higher performance and faster hardware ray tracing overall. So it's looking like they're making claims that they're making a lot of performance optimizations, upscaling optimizations, which is pretty cool. I hope this is true. If you're looking at what exactly is TSR doing differently, it says that like one possible improvement is called History Resurrection, where it's a new feature that will be added to high epic and cinematic anti-aliasing. Once TSR discards details for various reasons, such as occlusion, shading changes, or the simple fact that something is now out of the screen, the reaccumulation could have caused artifacts, but History Resurrection will keep the TSR historical data that can be used for showing the data gain unless a better match is found in more recent frames, and this feature will improve TSR stability and ensure that the output can be predicted, and furthermore, that would mean less ghosting. So, other information available in various articles and videos. Again, I will link all my sources in the video description. Again, they are claiming faster hardware ray tracing. Now, I've noticed that many Unreal Engine 5 games on PC do not support hardware ray tracing. That they support Lumen, but they use the software version. Almost none of the games I have tested for Unreal Engine 5 have actually supported hardware Lumen. I think we had Layers of Fear supported it, and I think there might be some other kind of smaller more indie-style game that I think supported it, but most of the bigger Unreal Engine 5 games have just been software Lumen. I know Fortnite itself does support hardware Lumen. But anyway, I'm seeing that Gray Zone is being announced as a game that will not only support Nvidia DLSS 3, but will have ray-traced enhanced Lumen, like the hardware ray tracing version of Lumen. Which is interesting. The game's not out yet, but I thought I'm just trying to track down. I'm curious about the whole situation with hardware accelerated Lumen being kind of uncommon. Now, speaking of interesting ray tracing implementations, this jumping back more into the rumor side of things, but apparently rumors are pointing to a Splinter Cell remake having stealth mechanics that allow enemies to detect players using ray traced reflections and also ray traced audio. This appears to be coming from a tweet from Visceral saying it will have some pretty cool features like enemies being able to detect you based on ray traced reflections, ray traced audio, etc., and confirming that Splinter Cell Remake is in development at Ubisoft. So interesting. I'm curious to see, if games use ray tracing for applications other than just, the visual side of things. So kind of interesting. I also like ray traced audio. It can sound pretty cool. Anyway, in other Unreal Engine 5 games getting updates, we see Lords of the Fallen getting a big 1.5 update that is introducing support for AMD's FSR 3 with the latest version, as well as some big game modifier systems for the actual game itself. I'm mostly reporting on this for the FSR 3 integration. Lords of the Fallen, when it initially launched, a lot of people expected it to have FSR 3 based on some things in the menu, but it didn't actually support FSR 3. And also DLSS 3 was available at launch, but then removed due to crashing issues. So now it looks like we are getting FSR 3 support into the game, so that is good to see. Haven't tried it out myself yet. We're seeing a new Remnant 2 update, adding DLSS 3.7 and XeSS 1.3 support, which is interesting since those are the newest versions of those technologies. And we're seeing Forgotten Kingdom DLC support and quality of life changes also coming to Remnant 2. In other upscaling news and frame generation news, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora has a 3.2 update, which is adding Intel XeSS support, which is nice to see, as well as a 40 FPS mode on consoles. Additionally, the frame generation version for FSR 3 is getting rolled back. It says the update also rolls back AMD FSR 3 temporarily to the previously used version to prevent visual artifacts from impacting the interpolation output of FSR 3 frame generation. I tested the game on its original FSR 3 implementation, but I had heard from people in my comment section that the game had been updated to a newer version that actually looked worse. It had more issues. So it's looking like the game developers agreed that the newer version had more issues and has rolled it back. Now, in another game getting update news, so this is kind of an early access game, but some people have been mentioning it in my comment section. No Rest for the Wicked had been having severe performance issues on a lot of people's systems. Now, it's an early access title, so I hadn't reported on its system requirements and performance, but I do want to mention that they have released a patch claiming to have a large number of performance updates. So if you had been having performance issues on No Rest for the Wicked, you could go ahead and take a look maybe and see if it is performing better for you. Speaking of the system requirements, since I'm already talking about the game, I will mention them quickly here. The minimum requirements for 1080p 30 don't look that crazy, and this is for the performance mode graphics setting. Apparently, at least at launch, I don't know if it's been updated, there was really only two graphic settings, performance and quality, even on the PC. Now, the minimum didn't seem to ask for a lot with a GTX 970 or an RX Vega 56. However, the recommended settings for 1080p 60 FPS and the quality graphic settings were actually pretty heavy for 1080p 60, with the 3070 Ti or 6800 XT as the recommendations, and the CPUs jumping all the way up to a 12600K or a 5800X3D. And this could point to some of those performance issues where it was apparently difficult to hold 60 frames per second. And that could have been CPU-related issues I was hearing from a lot of people, but I did not test it out myself. Sounds like my kids are getting home, so let's wrap up this video super quick here. I did want to mention that Fallout, after the TV show's success, has updated, not only been seeing a resurgence in players on all of the Fallout games, but Fallout 4 has received a next-gen update that's over 14 gigabytes, but apparently breaks modded saves and doesn't seem to change a whole heck of a lot else. There is some minor changes, but this is causing issues for a massive mod for Fallout London, which was supposed to be like a huge DLC-sized mod, which was going to be released on April 23rd, but with this Fallout Next Gen update coming in, it's apparently broken compatibility of the Fallout script extender, which is causing huge issues for that mod team. Additionally, with this Fallout 4 update, the game has received Steam Deck verified status. However, I would really like to mention, while I haven't tried it myself yet, I did check in on the Steam Deck subreddit, and they're reporting some that it's maybe not what people wanted. So apparently, to get the verified tag, all they did was remove the game's launcher so that it didn't require mouse input, which got them the verified status. However, that actually removes one of the ways to change graphic settings in the game. So that's a pretty big downside. I did see a comment saying that there's a launch command you could use to get the launcher to pop up on Steam Deck, and then you could still change graphic settings. So that seems kind of bad. And we're also seeing reports that Fallout 4 is still running at half frame rates on the OLED version of the Steam Deck, even after the verified patch. So overall, seeing kind of a lot of reports of issues with that. Now, in other kind of mod-related Steam news, there are reports that Nintendo-related items are being removed from Garry's mod, and that this is confirmed to be due to a Nintendo request. So Nintendo is asking them to remove Nintendo-related content from Garry's mod. And I'll also mention another Steam update. You can hear my kids running around. Steam refund policy update. So previously, it looks like if you're playing a game in advanced access, which is not the same thing as early access. This is more of like a pre-order bonus where sometimes you get access to a game a day or two early, that kind of thing. It looks like the time played during that advanced access is now counting against your Steam refund period. Whereas previously, I guess it didn't. I wasn't even aware that previously it didn't. But if they're updating it to now count, then I guess previously it must not have. So if you had been utilizing that feature, expecting to utilize that feature, be aware that is no longer a thing. And I'll leave you with this interesting tidbit as we go. Apparently there's a Japanese computer store with a vending machine full of Intel CPUs. However, most of them seem to be not fully functional. So anyway, I thought it was kind of interesting idea though. And I hope all of you have an excellent day.